From the Ministry of the Presidency in Georgetown, this is This Week with the President, with Janelle Carter.
Welcome to another edition of This Week with the President, a weekly news magazine which provides you with an in-depth look at the policies, programs, and work of Guyana's President. I'm your host, Vindia Tamishwar. In the headlines this week, President Granger calls on CARICOM to stand in solidarity with Guyana against Venezuelan threats, and President calls for renewed interest in entrepreneurship at the community level. February 17th marked the 50th anniversary of the signing of the Geneva Agreement of 1966, which essentially thwarted Venezuela's attempt to assert sovereignty over Guyana's territory. 50 years later, Venezuela is still trying to infringe on Guyana's sovereignty. Speaking at the 27th Intersessional Meeting of the Conference of CARICOM Heads of Government in Belize, President David Granger reiterated his call for solidarity from his regional counterparts. The President pointed out that in 50 years, Venezuela has failed to prove its contention that the International Arbitral Award of 1899, which clearly defined the borders between the two nations, is null and void. Instead, the neighboring state resorted to a strategy of harassment obstructing Guyana's economic development. The President pointed out that 50 years of constant threat to Guyana's sovereignty and territorial integrity is too long for any state to sustain, and reaffirmed Guyana's position, which is to pursue a judicial settlement. Development at the community level will not only improve living standards, but it will also drive economic development at the national level. It is for this reason that the President has been calling for residents to move away from the mere farm-to-market operations and more towards agro-processing and value-added. The head of state recently visited Banks DIH Thirst Park facility, where he spoke of the opportunities that farming communities can accrue if they seize the opportunity to provide commodities that large manufacturing companies like Banks DIH would need.
We have to look towards converting the agricultural commodities that we're capable of producing into food. My policy and the policy of this government is to continue to strengthen communities so that right there in the villages, young men can get jobs. Producing commodities for corporations like Banks DIH. Communities are where people live. And if we can provide employment in the communities, just as we're providing employment here, this is going to be not only a happier country, but a richer company.
Guyana's development has been heavily reliant on the traditional sectors rice, sugar, timber, bauxite, gold, and diamond. These sectors, however, are at the perils of price volatility on the world market. As such, the country must venture into non-traditional areas like agro-processing and manufacturing.
What I saw here today tells me that this is not just a profiteering company. It's not a profiteering company. It's a company that is going to enhance its relationship with communities. That it's the communities which produce the raw materials, which produce the fruit that you're going to get fruit juice, which produce the rice, which produce the sugar, which will produce the milk that you'll get for your future products. We can do all of these things in Guyana.
Currently, the government is looking to increase the supply of meals to school children in Guyana. The President said that banks can play a key role in this regard.
Now we have over 250,000 school children to feed every day. And I would like to be able to guarantee them healthy Guyanese meals. And what I saw here today convinces me that this is going to be one of the vanguard companies in providing food, cheap food, nutritious food for our school children and for also our adults.
At a little over 60 years old, Banks DIH employs over 1,000 Guyanese and is home to a host of quality products that are sold locally and exported to other countries.
We are indeed a pace-setter country, and I do believe that from what I've seen today, from the evidence I've seen today, that you will continue to lead us into a realm, into an era of economic prosperity.
The President has been urging citizens to rekindle the spirit of entrepreneurship at the community level, for them to rebuild their economy on the pillars of investment, information, infrastructure, and innovation. The Government of Guyana, through the Ministry of Communities, has developed an action plan for regional development, the implementation of which will see transformation in the economic and social landscape of communities in the 10 administrative regions. While the impending local government elections will address issues relating to regional administration and governance, there are a number of social problems facing communities that must be addressed in order for those communities to develop.
We've discovered that a lot of crime and social problems have started to arise out of the communities. Suicide, murders, sometimes some rape murders of old women, arson, all sorts of serious social problems have arisen in some of the communities. So it is not just a governmental measure, it's also a social measure to improve the quality of life in these communities. So that is our focus, and we are walking on two legs. Not only do we have a governmental approach to strengthen the region, but we also have a social approach. And again, if I could add, that's one of the reasons why we created two new ministries, or gave the new names to ministries, Ministry of Social Cohesion and Social Protection. So social is an important dimension of our development policy.
The importance of strong neighborhood democratic councils and municipalities cannot be overemphasized. It is for this reason that the administration has worked to ensure that local government elections are held as early as possible, and it is also the reason why the government is creating 3 new towns in Bartica, Letem, and Mabaruma.
In the end, we expect that the combination of governmental action plus stronger neighborhood and municipal administrations will help to turn these communities around. That's what the government is doing, working with the NGOs, but we are doing work on our own. But some of the social problems cannot be solved by governmental action alone.
Communities have also been plagued by crime and violence for many years. This has a severe negative impact on economic development, which the government is working to address by encouraging citizens to take a more proactive approach and work with the police to secure their own communities.
In some small communities, we noticed over the last 10 years or so, there have been some very serious execution murders. Equally, there have been problems in some rural communities in which old women, widows living on their own, have been raped and murdered. So there's a lot of work that we have to do in order to create that atmosphere of camaraderie. And so we come back to the initial question, that is, what can the community do? There is something called community policing, and we want to give community policing a new emphasis, so that if a community is aware that there are vulnerable children in the community, young girls, schoolgirls. Remember, we had a very bad rape murder at Wackenham. If we know that there are widows living on their own, the community could help the police to take responsibility for the safety, the human safety of those vulnerable citizens.
The President made it clear that policing is the job of the Guyana Police Force, but there needs to be a more harmonious relationship between communities and the police.
There's no point creating a rival police force called the CPGs. So the measure that is in place is to change the quality of the relationship between the community and the police, not to create 2 police forces, one controlled by the Ministry of Home Affairs, one controlled by the Commissioner of Police. The Commissioner of Police is responsible, and we will strengthen his authority over community policing, which is a function of the community working together with the police.
As taxpayers, Guyanese have a right to access to official information regarding the legislative, executive, and judicial branches of government. This point was made clear by the head of state following reports of misinterpreted views of the role of the Government Information Agency.
I have said this before when I was in the opposition. The government is made up of 3 branches: the judicial branch, which interprets the laws, the legislative branch, which makes the laws, and the executive branch, which implements the laws. As far as I'm concerned, the government information services, the government news agency, must cover all three branches of the government: legislative, executive, and judicial. The people have to be better informed. And you cannot inform the people by depriving them of information. The people need to know.
This policy of fair coverage for all three branches of government by state media entities is one which the President has advocated for as leader of the opposition, and is one which he intends to uphold as head of the executive. This week we will share with you a clip of the President talking about how his childhood experiences influenced his love for Guyana during an interview with some Queen's College students.
I grew up at Bartica, and there were some experiences there. I have very happy memories. Then I went to the quarantine. Again, it's a very important part of my upbringing. Then I came to Georgetown. And in so doing, I got a picture of Guyanese life, which I cherish very much, the complexity of Guyanese society. When I went into the Defense Force, I started to move in the different regions, and this helped to educate me about what I would call the Guyanese reality, the Guyanese experience. And all of these have contributed to my love of the country and my love of the Guyanese people. And that basically is the story, you know, that when I got involved in politics, I saw that this was an opportunity to give the people of this country a good life. I think I could have made a contribution from the various stages of my life.
That brings us to the end of this week's program. Thank you for joining me. For regular updates on the Ministry of the Presidency, go to our website www.motp.gov.gy. Like our Facebook page, Ministry of the Presidency, and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at MOTP Guyana. Do have a safe and productive rest of the week. Goodbye.